For 12 years, a machine that was once called a miracle sat buried beneath dust, rust, and silence. Everyone who knew about it believed it was dead forever. The company board members had hidden it away, convinced that no one would ever bring it back to life. But on the day they finally opened the forgotten warehouse doors, a tired single father walked in with nothing but a toolbox, a broken heart, and a promise he had made to his little daughter. What happened next left everyone standing there speechless. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of never giving up, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Beyond Single Dad, because stories like this remind us that sometimes the smallest acts of courage can create the biggest changes. The man who changed everything was named Callan Mercer. He was not famous, wealthy, or powerful. He was just a father trying to survive each day. After losing his wife, Callan had become the only person standing between his young daughter and a world that had suddenly become cold and difficult. Every morning before sunrise, he woke up, packed her lunch, fixed her old school shoes, and went to work at a small repair shop across town. Life had not been easy for Callan. Many people saw him as just another struggling worker, someone who had fallen behind. They never saw the nights when he sat at the kitchen table counting bills after his daughter went to sleep. They never saw him quietly fixing broken toys because he could not afford new ones. They never saw him hide his own sadness behind a smile because he wanted his daughter to believe that tomorrow could still be better. But Callan had one thing that nobody could take away from him: he knew machines. Since he was a child, he understood the language of engines, gears, and motors. He believed every broken thing had a story, and if someone cared enough, almost anything could be repaired. Years earlier, before his life changed forever, Callan had worked for a powerful engineering company called Themk Industries. The company was once known for creating advanced machines that changed the world of manufacturing. Their greatest achievement was a revolutionary motor called the axiom core engine. It was designed to run longer, use less energy, and transform the future of technology. But during its final testing, something went wrong. The motor stopped suddenly. The board members panicked. They feared losing investors and damaging their reputation. Instead of allowing engineers to study the failure and fix it, they locked the machine away inside an abandoned warehouse. They told everyone the project had failed. They buried the truth. Callan was one of the engineers who had worked on the axiom core engine. He believed the problem was not the motor itself. He believed there was a small hidden flaw that could be repaired. But when the board decided to abandon the project, Callan's voice was ignored. Soon after, personal tragedy forced him to leave the company, and the world moved on. For 12 years, the forgotten motor remained hidden. Then one day, Themk Industries faced a crisis. Their new technology was failing, competitors were moving ahead, and investors were demanding answers. The same board members who had buried the axiom core engine suddenly remembered the machine they had abandoned. They needed someone who understood it. Someone suggested Callan. At first, the board members laughed. They remembered him as the quiet engineer who refused to accept that the project was a failure. They thought he was just a simple repairman now. But they had no other choice. When Callan received the offer, he hesitated. He had spent years trying to rebuild his life. Returning to that place meant facing old memories, old disappointments, and the people who had ignored him. But then he looked at his daughter's drawing on the refrigerator. It was a picture of him fixing a machine with the words written underneath, "My dad can fix anything." That simple sentence gave him the strength to return. The day Callan walked into the warehouse, everyone watched him carefully. The giant motor sat in the corner, covered in a thick layer of dust. The machine that once represented hope now looked like a forgotten piece of metal. The board members stood nearby, expecting failure. They believed 12 years of damage could not be undone. But Callan did not rush. He gently cleaned each part. He studied the scratches, the broken connections, and the marks left behind from the last test. He did not see a dead machine. He saw a patient waiting for someone to understand its pain. Hours passed. Then days. Callan worked while everyone else doubted him. He stayed late after everyone left. Sometimes he slept in the warehouse because he wanted to hear the smallest sound the motor made. He knew the problem was hidden somewhere deep inside. During one late night, while reviewing old notes, Callan discovered something shocking. The original calculations were correct. The design was never the problem. The failure had happened because a small component had been replaced during testing with a cheaper version. A decision made by someone trying to save money had damaged the entire project. The truth had been hidden for 12 years. Callan had finally found the reason. On the day of the final demonstration, the entire board gathered inside the warehouse. Some came because they wanted to see him fail. Others came because they were curious. Nobody expected what was about to happen. Callan placed his hand on the old motor one last time. He thought about all the years he spent struggling. He thought about his daughter waiting at home. He thought about every person who had been told they were not good enough. Then he turned the power on. At first, nothing happened. The room became silent. The board members looked at each other. Then, slowly, a small sound came from the machine. A vibration. A spark. A movement. The forgotten motor that everyone believed was dead began to run again. The warehouse filled with the deep sound of a machine coming back to life after 12 years of silence. People who had doubted Callan stood frozen. The same people who had hidden the motor were now watching the men they underestimated bring it back. But Callan did not celebrate for himself. He simply smiled and looked at the machine. Because he knew something important. The motor was never truly broken. It was only waiting for someone who believed it was worth saving. The news spread quickly. The story was not just about a machine. It was about a father who refused to give up. It was about a person who lost everything but still chose to believe in rebuilding. It was about how forgotten things, forgotten dreams, and forgotten people can still have value. Valtrex Industries offered Callan a major position, but he asked for something different. He wanted the company to create a program that gave opportunities to struggling engineers and workers who had been overlooked. He wanted people to receive a second chance before they were forgotten. Years later, his daughter would tell people that her father did not just restart a motor. He restarted hope. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to support this video by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your engagement helps more inspiring stories reach people who need a reminder that kindness, courage, and determination still matter. Before the story ends, comment the word "second chance" if you believe everyone deserves an opportunity to rebuild their life, no matter how many times they have fallen. Because sometimes the world gives up on something too quickly. Sometimes people decide that a dream is finished, a person is defeated, or a future is impossible. But one person's belief can change everything. And somewhere out there, there is someone who feels forgotten, waiting for their own moment to come alive again, just like the broken motor that ran after 12 silent years.